In the bustling city of Portland, there lived a young caregiver named Maya Chen. At 24, she was known for being different from the others at Riverside Care Center. She didn't chase attention or engage in workplace drama. She simply arrived early, stayed late, and treated every patient with the same gentle care, whether they were wealthy executives or retired factory workers. Maya's mother had passed away when she was young, and that loss shaped everything about her career choice. If you care for others with clean hands and a pure heart, you'll find your purpose, her grandmother used to tell her. Those words became Maya's compass. The care center was a modern facility in downtown Portland, where wealthy families sent their aging relatives. Most staff members tried extra hard when VIP patients arrived, adjusting their appearance and manners. But Maya remained constant, speaking softly to everyone, checking medications carefully, and making sure no one felt forgotten. One stormy evening, with rain hammering against the windows and thunder rolling across the city, the emergency alert sounded through the building. "Prepare the executive suite," the head nurse, Karen, shouted into her radio. "We have an urgent admission coming in." Staff members rushed around, some spraying air freshener in the hallways, others checking their appearance in mirrors. Maya walked calmly toward the intensive care wing, her mind already preparing for what might be needed. Minutes later, a black luxury vehicle pulled up to the emergency entrance. Security personnel jumped out first, followed by medical attendants wheeling a stretcher. On it lay an elderly man with tubes in his nose and blood staining his expensive shirt. His eyes were closed, his breathing shallow and labored. "Is that who I think it is?" whispered Nurse Linda, her eyes wide. "Robert Wilson," another nurse confirmed, her voice barely audible. "The real estate tycoon. The one who owns half the buildings downtown." The hallway fell silent except for the sound of hurried footsteps and medical equipment being prepared. Doctors rushed forward, the facility director herself came down from her office, and tension filled the air. The unspoken question hung heavy. Would he survive the night? They placed him in the luxury intensive care suite. Doctors worked quickly, machines beeped steadily, and the director called for additional staff. But by midnight, the hallways had quieted. Visitors were sent away, security guards posted at the door, and nurses scheduled in shifts to monitor the patient. By 2 in the morning, most staff had gone to rest. But Maya remained, sitting quietly in a chair near the bed. She studied the old man's face, noticing a scar above his eyebrow, his gray beard, his dry lips. Gently, she dipped cotton in warm water and cleaned the dried blood near his nose. The door opened softly. The director stepped in and paused, surprised. "You're still here?" she asked. Maya nodded. "His vital signs are stable, but I wanted to stay close." The director looked at her thoughtfully. "You're an unusual young woman, Maya. You don't seem intimidated by powerful people." "I just see someone who needs care," Maya said quietly. The director didn't respond. She simply nodded and left. Maya stayed through the night, past the rain stopping, past the first birds singing at dawn, past 6 in the morning. Then something happened. The man's fingers twitched. Maya leaned forward immediately. His eyes opened slowly, weak and unfocused, but they found her face. His lips moved without sound. "Can you hear me?" she asked gently. "Do you know where you are?" He blinked once. "You're at Riverside Care Center," she explained softly. "You arrived last night. You were unconscious. Can you speak?" His voice came out dry and cracked. "Water." She brought a straw to his lips and helped him take small sips. He coughed lightly, then whispered, "Who are you?" "I'm Maya. I'm a caregiver. I've been watching over you." He stared at her with an expression between confusion and gratitude. Then he said something that changed everything. "Don't let them near me." She blinked. "Who?" "Anyone. My staff, my family. I don't trust them." There was a heavy silence. He looked away, then back at her. "You're the only one who stayed." Maya didn't know what to say. "I want you to stay," he said, his voice stronger now. "Just you." She looked into his tired, fearful eyes. "All right," she said softly. "I'll stay." From that moment forward, Robert Wilson refused to see anyone except Maya. When his sons arrived in expensive suits demanding entry, his voice echoed from inside the room. "If it's not Maya, I don't want visitors." The director turned to her. "What did you do to him?" "I stayed," Maya replied simply. And so Maya became the only person allowed in his room. She fed him, changed his 4 drips, and listened as he spoke in broken whispers. He didn't talk about money or business. Instead, he asked about her life, her family, why she chose caregiving. "My mother died when I was young," Maya told him one evening. "There were complications, and help came too late. I promised myself I'd help others have more time with the people they love." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he whispered, "You're different from the others." "Different how?" she asked. "Pure. No hidden agenda." She didn't answer, but something stirred in her heart. This wealthy, powerful man who could have anything had chosen her presence not for what she could give him materially, but for something simpler, her genuine care. On the 7th day, he said something that would change both their lives. "Maya," he said slowly, his voice barely above a whisper, "do you believe in second chances?" She looked at him carefully. "Yes, I do." He closed his eyes. "Then I need one. I need yours." If you're enjoying this story of redemption and unexpected connections, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Drop a comment below telling us what you think Maya will discover next. Chapter 2 is coming up, where secrets from the past begin to surface. The room smelled of antiseptic and fresh linen. Soft beeping from the heart monitor filled the air as morning light filtered through the blinds, casting golden lines across the floor. Maya sat beside Robert Wilson's bed, holding a warm cloth to gently clean his face. "Do you believe in second chances?" he had asked. "Yes, I do," she had answered without hesitation. "Then I need one. I need yours." Hours had passed since those words, and he hadn't spoken again. He simply stared at the ceiling as if having a conversation with someone only he could see. Maya adjusted his blanket and stood to check the 4 drip, giving him space with his thoughts. Suddenly, he spoke. "Do you know what it's like to sleep in a house full of people and still feel completely alone?" Maya looked at him, uncertain if he wanted an answer or was simply thinking aloud. He turned his head slowly to meet her eyes. "You don't. You still have light in your eyes. Peace." "I cry sometimes when I'm alone," Maya said quietly. "I just don't do it in front of people." A slight smile crossed his face. "Good. That means you still feel things." He paused. "I stopped crying 30 years ago." Silence settled between them. "Maya, do you know who I am?" he finally asked. "Yes," she replied gently. "You're Robert Wilson. You own Wilson Properties. You're very successful. Is that all people tell you?" His voice carried a hint of sadness. "That's all I've heard." He stared at her a moment longer, then looked away. "Then you don't know me at all. That's actually a good thing." He reached for her hand, his fingers trembling. "Don't believe what they tell you about me." "I don't listen to gossip," Maya said, placing her other hand over his. "Don't trust them either," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "My sons. They're waiting like vultures for me to stop breathing." She stayed quiet, feeling his grip tighten. "They'll come pretending to care," he continued. "Some will cry, some will make speeches, but they all want the same thing: my signature, my assets, my name." "I don't want anything from you," Maya said softly. "I know," he whispered, finally releasing her hand. "That's why you're the only one I trust." Just then, a soft knock came at the door. Karen, the head nurse, peeked in. "Maya," she whispered. "His son is here with a lawyer. They're insisting on seeing him." Maya looked at Robert. His jaw tightened, his breathing quickened. "Tell them I'm resting," he said firmly. "But sir." Tell them no. Karen hesitated, glancing at Maya before slowly closing the door. Robert took a deep breath. I warned them. I said I didn't want visitors. I meant it. Maya stepped closer. Maybe they do care. He gave a dry laugh. Care? My oldest son hasn't visited in 2 years. Now he shows up with a lawyer. What do you think he wants? Hugs? I don't know, she said honestly. Exactly. You don't know, his voice rose slightly. But I do. I know what they're capable of. I built everything myself, and they just want to sign papers and take it all. Maya sat back down, folding her hands in her lap. She didn't argue. Robert looked at her again. Do you think I'm a bad man? She seemed surprised by the question. No. I've done things, he said slowly. Things I'm not proud of. But there's one thing, one choice I wish I could undo more than anything. His voice trailed off. He turned toward the window. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night hearing her voice, hearing her laugh. Then I remember. I let her go. I chose money and power instead. Now I'm dying with all of it, but without her. Maya frowned gently. Who? He blinked slowly. I'll tell you soon. But first, I need to be sure. Sure of what? Sure that you're the person who can help me make this right. Make what right? But he didn't answer. He just closed his eyes and whispered. Watch them, Maya. Watch how they start circling now that I'm weak. You'll see what I mean. He was right. That same afternoon, the door opened without warning. Behind Karen stood a tall man in an expensive designer suit, his face sharp, his eyes cold. He didn't wait for permission. Dad, he said, stepping into the room. It's me, Marcus. Robert turned his head but said nothing. Dad, I flew in from New York, Marcus continued. They told me you weren't doing well. I said I don't want visitors, Robert interrupted. Marcus forced a smile. Come on, Dad. Don't be like this. I'm your son. Then act like one. Get out. Dad, please. Maya, Robert said slowly. Please ask him to leave. Marcus's face changed. He turned to Maya. Excuse me, who even are you? Are you his caregiver or his daughter? Maya looked down. I'm his caregiver. Well, then act like one and leave us to talk privately. But Robert raised his hand. If she leaves, you leave too. Marcus clenched his jaw. You're being unreasonable. No, Marcus, Robert said coldly. I'm being wise. Marcus laughed bitterly and turned to go. At the door, he paused and looked back. He's dying, and he's giving his heart to a stranger. He walked out and slammed the door. Maya sat down again. Robert stared at the ceiling. They think they know me, he said. But they only know what I let them see. He looked at Maya with sad, tired eyes. You remind me of her. Who? Elizabeth. Silence filled the room. Maya waited, but he didn't elaborate. The next day brought more visitors. His second son, then a business partner, then 2 financial advisors, then a religious counselor. They all came asking to see him. He refused them all, except Maya. Why me? She finally asked on the 3rd day. He looked at her with those weary eyes. Because you listen. Because you care about me as a human being, not as a bank account. She didn't know what to say. Later that night, as she was adjusting his pillow, he spoke again. Maya, do you believe people can keep secrets for decades? I think everyone has secrets, she said. He nodded. Mine has been locked away for 28 years. But it's time. Time for what? To tell someone. To fix what I broke. To right a terrible wrong. She looked at him closely. His hand reached out and gently tapped the bedside table. There's a bag under this bed. She bent down and pulled out a small black leather bag. Open it. She unzipped it carefully. Inside was a thick brown envelope filled with papers. On top lay a silver key. Next to it was an old photograph of a young woman holding a baby. Maya stared. "That's her," he said softly. "That's Elizabeth. The only woman I ever truly loved." She touched the photo carefully. "She's beautiful." "She was more than that," he said. "She was everything. But I left her. My family said she wasn't good enough, that she came from nothing, and I was too weak to fight for her." He looked away, his voice breaking. "I gave her a house far from the city. I thought it would keep her safe while I sorted things out. I promised to come back, but I never did." He looked back at Maya, his eyes red. "She was carrying my child when I left." Maya gasped quietly. "You had a child?" He nodded. "A daughter." Her heart beat faster. "What happened to them?" "I don't know," he said, his voice cracking. "I've tried to find them. I've paid investigators. I've searched for years. Nothing. And now I'm dying." Maya sat quietly, her mind spinning. He pointed at the key. "That's the key to the house in Riverside County. That's where she lived. I need you to go there." "Me?" Maya's voice rose in surprise. "Yes, you." She held the key, confused. "Why me?" "Because I trust you. Because you'll do it with pure intentions, not for money or status, but for truth." Maya sat down slowly, staring at the photo again. "What if they're not there anymore?" "Then at least I tried," he whispered. "At least I didn't take this secret to my grave." He closed his eyes. "I have everything money can buy, but I feel empty inside. I want peace, Maya. I want to see her face again, or my daughter's face. Before I go." Maya looked at the photo once more. In that moment, something shifted inside her. She didn't fully understand what she was stepping into or what she would discover. But she knew one thing with certainty. She couldn't say no. The photograph remained in Maya's hands long after Robert had drifted to sleep. The woman in the picture had kind eyes and a gentle smile. Her clothing was simple, but something about her expression radiated warmth and dignity. The baby in her arms was wrapped in a thin blanket, sleeping peacefully. Maya stared at the image until the morning light began filtering through the windows. The silver key sat heavy in her palm, and the weight of what Robert was asking felt equally substantial. "You really want me to go to Riverside County?" Maya asked when he woke. "Yes," he said, his voice rough from sleep. "You must. But I'm a caregiver. Why not send someone from your family or hire a professional investigator?" He turned his face slowly toward her, his eyes glassy but intense. "They'll ruin it." "Ruin what?" "The chance to make this right. They don't understand love. They only understand assets and control. You saw Marcus. Did he look like someone wanting his father back, or someone coming to collect an inheritance?" Maya stayed quiet. She remembered Marcus's sharp eyes, the coldness in his expression. "You still haven't told me everything," Maya said. "What exactly am I looking for?" "Find her," he said simply. "Find out if Elizabeth is still alive. If not, find my daughter. That child in the photo." Maya frowned. "What if they've moved away?" "Then go to the house. Use the key. Everything is still there. Maybe letters, maybe something she left behind. I told the caretaker to keep it maintained. No one has lived there in years. Why didn't you go yourself?" He gave a weak, bitter laugh. "Pride. Shame. And later, when I finally had the courage, sickness stopped me." He closed his eyes briefly. "I thought I had time." Maya sighed. "I don't even know what to say to her if I find her. What if she refuses to see you?" He nodded slowly. "She has every right to. But I need to try. I don't want to die without trying." Maya looked at the photo again. "You said you tried to find her before. Why didn't it work?" "I sent investigators," he said. Cold professionals with checkbooks and no heart. She probably hid from them. I would have too. And this time you want to send me. You're the only one she might believe, he said, his voice cracking. You carry no threat, no agenda. Just truth. Maya stood up and walked to the window. The city stretched out before her, morning traffic beginning to fill the streets. She turned back to him. If I go and I find her, what should I tell her? Tell her I never stopped thinking about her. That I never stopped loving her. That I was a coward, but I want her to know the truth before I'm gone. Maya's heart tightened. And if she's gone, he continued, find my daughter. Tell her who she is. Tell her I was wrong, but I wanted her to know. He began coughing, a deep, painful cough that rattled through his chest. Maya rushed to his side, supporting him, adjusting the pillows, checking his oxygen levels. You're not strong enough for all this talking, she said. He grabbed her wrist gently. Promise me. Mr. Wilson. Promise me, Maya. She swallowed hard. I promise. He released her hand and leaned back, exhausted. You'll need to leave soon. Before they start watching you. She blinked. Watching me. They're already suspicious, he whispered. My sons, my business partners, they see you coming in and out of this room. They'll try to stop you if they suspect what you're doing. Why? Because if you find her and she brings proof, they lose a significant portion of their inheritance. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. She looked at the envelope again. What's inside this? She asked. Property documents, a DNA test request form, and a handwritten letter. I was writing it before I collapsed. It's not finished, but it's all I have. Maya placed the envelope back in the bag and stood still for a moment. I'll need a few days off work. He nodded. I'll arrange it with the director. No, she said quickly. That will draw attention. I'll call in sick. He gave a faint smile. You're smarter than I thought. Maya pulled out her phone, her hands shaking slightly. I've never done anything like this. This isn't caregiving, this is something else entirely. I know, he said. But you're the only one I trust. She looked at him one more time. I'll leave in the morning, first thing. He closed his eyes, and for the first time since she'd met him, a single tear rolled down his weathered cheek. Thank you, Maya. The next morning, before dawn broke over Portland, Maya packed a small bag. 2 changes of clothes, a notebook, a portable charger, a scarf, and the most important items. The key, the photo, the envelope, and the address. She texted the director about a family emergency requiring 2 days off. By 6:30, she was at the transit station, clutching the paper with directions to Riverside County. The journey took 4 hours by bus. Maya sat at the back, watching the city fade into suburbs, then into rural landscapes. Fields replaced buildings. Narrow roads replaced highways. She didn't speak to anyone. Her mind was too full of possibilities and worries. When the bus finally stopped, she stepped out into a small town that seemed frozen in time. No major stores, just red dirt roads and scattered houses with worn paint and metal roofs. Chickens wandered freely. Children played with old tires. Women carried baskets on their heads. Maya walked to a small shop by the roadside and showed the paper to an elderly man selling produce. Do you know someone named Joe? She asked. The caretaker. The man looked up slowly, squinting. Joe the mechanic or Joe the caretaker? Caretaker. He pointed down a dirt path. Second house past the water pump. The green one. Thank you. As Maya walked, people stared. Her clothes were too clean, her shoes too modern. She clearly didn't belong, and everyone could tell. She reached the green house and knocked gently. A man in his 60s opened the door, his face weathered, his hands rough from years of work. Yes, he said cautiously. Are you Joe? Who's asking? She opened her bag and showed him the photograph. I came from Portland. Robert Wilson sent me. Joe stared at the photo. His entire expression changed. You need to come inside, he said quietly. The room was small but tidy. A standing fan turned slowly in the corner. A calendar from several years ago hung on the wall, and a Bible sat on a wooden table next to an old radio. He sat down heavily. You said Robert sent you? Yes. He's very sick. Dying, actually. Joe nodded slowly. I knew this day would come eventually. You were the caretaker of the house? I still am. I visit every week. Clean, maintain it. But no one's lived there in years. She pulled out the key. Can you take me there? He stood up. Now. Please. He grabbed an old cap and stepped outside without another word. They walked in silence past farms, past a small school where children chanted multiplication tables, past a church with broken windows. Finally, they reached the edge of town. There, hidden behind tall bushes, was a quiet property. The gate was rusty, the walls faded. Joe pulled out his own key and unlocked it. They stepped inside. The grass had been recently cut, the path swept, but the air felt frozen, as if time itself had stopped decades ago. Maya walked up to the front door. Her fingers trembled as she inserted the silver key into the lock. It turned with a click. She pushed the door open. The smell of dust and old wood filled her nose. The living room was simple: a brown sofa, a table with a crocheted cloth, curtains made of faded fabric. Everything looked untouched but clean, as if someone had just stepped out and never returned. Did she live here long? Maya asked. Elizabeth. Joe nodded. Yes. Almost 3 years. Then one day she just left. Just left. No goodbye. Some men came from the city. Sharp suits, asking questions. She got scared. After that, she packed up and disappeared. Maya walked slowly to a shelf near the wall. There were framed photos: Elizabeth holding the baby, Elizabeth sitting under a tree, Elizabeth smiling next to someone who had been cropped out of the frame. She never came back? Maya asked. Never. Did anyone look for her? Those men in suits came a few times. But she was already gone. Maya pulled out the envelope and placed it on the table, removing the handwritten letter. The words were shaky, some lines unfinished. She read aloud. To the woman I never stopped loving. I made the biggest mistake of my life when I walked away. They told me you were beneath me, but now I see I was the one beneath you. You gave me a daughter, and I gave you nothing but silence. I want to fix this. Please forgive me. Robert. Her throat tightened. She folded the letter carefully and placed it back. Is there anything she left behind? Maya asked. Joe nodded. There's a room she locked before leaving. I never opened it. Where? He led her down a hallway to a plain wooden door. Maya tried the key again. Click. The door opened. Inside, the air was thick with years of stillness. Dust floated in the sunlight streaming through a small window. The bed was neatly made. A small dresser stood beside it, and on top was a scarf, the same one from the photograph. Maya stepped inside. The walls had pictures drawn by a child. Flowers, the sun, stick figures of a man and woman holding hands. She opened the dresser drawer. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all addressed to Robert Wilson. None had ever been sent. She picked one up with trembling hands and read. You left. I waited. I believed your promises. But days turned to months, and our daughter asks every day, where is Daddy? I don't know how to answer. Maya's hands shook as she picked up another letter. Your men came today. They offered money but not truth. I won't let them touch what's mine. I won't let them take my daughter away from me. She blinked back tears. In the corner sat a wooden box. She opened it carefully. Inside were baby clothes, a small pink shoe, a doll with one eye missing, and beneath it all, a birth certificate. She pulled it out, and her heart stopped. Name: Sarah Elizabeth Wilson. Date of birth, July 12, 1996. Father, Robert Wilson. Mother, Elizabeth Parker. She's real, Maya whispered. She has a name. Joe looked over her shoulder. That's her. Yes. Maya stared at the paper, her mind racing. I need to find her. That will be difficult, Joe said. Why? Because this town doesn't talk to outsiders. People here protect their own. But maybe. He paused. There's someone who might know. Mrs. Parker. She helped Elizabeth. If anyone saw where they went, it would be her. Where is she? 3 houses from the water pump. Look for the one with the red flowers out front. Maya grabbed the birth certificate, folded it gently, and placed it in her bag. Let's go, she said with determination. Joe looked at her seriously. This road you're walking, it's dangerous. Powerful families don't like their secrets exposed. I don't care about the danger, Maya said. This isn't about me. He gave a small nod. Then may God guide you. He turned and walked away down another path, leaving Maya standing alone. She walked quickly back to the house where Elizabeth once lived, locked herself inside, and sat on the bed in the small room. She unfolded the piece of paper Mrs. Parker had given her. It had a name and a clinic address written in shaky handwriting. Sarah Parker, Millbrook Community Health Clinic. She whispered the name softly, committing it to memory. Then she tried to call Robert. No answer. She tried again. Still nothing. Her chest tightened. Was he worse? Was someone preventing him from answering? She put the phone down and covered her face with her hands, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on her. She thought about her mother, about the promise she'd made to help people live longer, to give them more time. And now here she was, holding another person's life story in her hands. She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the sky had deepened to purple. A few stars had begun to appear. I'll find you, she whispered into the twilight. I'll find you, Sarah. Even if it's the last thing I do. She closed the curtain and returned to the bed, placing the birth certificate and address on the small table beside her, the silver key still in her hand. Tomorrow she would leave for Millbrook. Tomorrow she would step into a storm she couldn't yet see. But tonight, she would gather her strength, because she knew the road ahead would be harder than anything she'd faced before. The next morning arrived with the sound of Maya's phone vibrating under her pillow. She sat up quickly, her heart already racing. A text message from Linda, one of the junior staff at Riverside Care Center. Where are you? Mr. Wilson's condition got worse last night. Director is panicking. Nobody's allowed in his room anymore. Maya's hands shook as she held the phone. She quickly typed back. Is he still alive? The reply came moments later. Yes, but heavily sedated. Marcus has taken control. He's blocking all visitors. Even the director says it's to protect his father. Maya's fingers froze over the screen. She looked at the brown envelope on the table, then at the note with Sarah's clinic address. Time was running out. She threw on her clothes, tied her scarf, packed her things, and locked the house behind her. She left a quick note for Joe under the gate. Thank you. Please pray for me. By 9 in the morning, she was on a motorcycle heading to Millbrook. The wind whipped her face, dust stung her eyes, but she didn't blink. She held her bag tightly with both arms, protecting its precious contents. At the town's edge, the driver stopped. This is the clinic, he said, pointing. It was a small building painted white with blue letters over the entrance, Millbrook Community Health Clinic. It didn't look fancy, just honest and functional. Maya paid the driver and stepped inside. The waiting area had only 3 plastic chairs. A mother rocked a baby on one. A young boy sat on the floor with a bandaged leg. A woman in a medical uniform looked up from the front desk. Good morning. How can I help you? Maya cleared her throat. I'm looking for Sarah Parker. The woman blinked. Why? I need to speak with her. It's very personal. She's with a patient. Please wait. Maya sat down, her palms sweating. What if Sarah didn't believe her? What if she got angry? What if she refused to come? Minutes crawled by. Then the door behind the desk opened, and there she was. Sarah Parker. The same eyes as Elizabeth from the photograph. The same gentle features around her mouth. But stronger now, older, more guarded. She looked at Maya with cautious curiosity. You asked for me? Sarah said. Yes. Maya stood up quickly. Can we talk privately? Sarah frowned. Who are you? My name is Maya Chen. I'm a caregiver from Portland. And Maya took a breath. I came to speak to you about your father. Sarah's face didn't change, but her body stiffened. I don't have a father. You do, Maya said softly. His name is Robert Wilson. A heavy silence filled the room. Sarah turned to the other medical assistant. Take over the front desk. Then she walked into a side room without saying another word. Maya followed, her heart pounding. Inside, the room was small, a desk, 2 chairs, a shelf with medical supplies, and a small fan humming in the corner. Sarah sat down. Talk quickly. Maya sat across from her. She pulled out the envelope, opened it, and laid the birth certificate on the table, then the photograph of Elizabeth holding baby Sarah. I went to Riverside County, Maya said. I went to the house your mother lived in. I met Mrs. Parker. I found these. Sarah stared at the photograph. She didn't speak, didn't move. He's dying, Maya continued. Your father. He's very sick. He sent me to find your mother, but Mrs. Parker told me she passed away. 6 years ago, Sarah said quietly, still looking at the photo. I'm sorry, Maya said gently. Sarah's fingers reached out to touch the photograph, then pulled back as if it burned. He sent people before. Men in expensive suits talking about money and legal documents. I told them I didn't want his money. I'm not here about money, Maya said. He didn't send money this time. He sent me, someone who cared for him when no one else would. He told me about you. He regrets everything. Too late, Sarah said flatly. Maya nodded slowly. Maybe. But he still wants to see you. He wants to apologize face to face. Sarah stood up abruptly, pacing now. Do you know how many nights I watched my mother cry? Do you know how many lies she had to create just so I wouldn't hate myself for being born? I don't know, Maya admitted. But I know he wants to make it right. Sarah turned sharply. I built this clinic from nothing. I used to clean houses just to afford school supplies. I worked 2 jobs to pay for my medical training. My mother didn't live to see me graduate. She died with nothing, broken-hearted. And now he wants what? Forgiveness. A reunion. No, Maya said calmly. He doesn't expect forgiveness. He just wants a chance to look you in the eye and say he's sorry with his own voice. If that's all you allow him, that's enough. Sarah stopped pacing. Her eyes were glassy now. You don't understand how long I waited for him. Birthdays, graduation, when Mama was buried, he never came. I know, Maya said. But now you have the power. You can face him not as a little girl waiting for love, but as a successful woman with a name, a career, and the truth in your hands. Sarah sat down again slowly. What if I go and feel nothing? Then that's okay too, Maya said. But at least you'll know. At least you'll have closure. They sat in silence. Sarah looked down at the photograph again, her mother's young face smiling back at her. Finally, she whispered, If I go, we go quietly. No press, no announcements. Of course, Maya agreed immediately. Sarah picked up the photo carefully. Let me pack a bag. The journey back to Portland was quiet. Sarah didn't speak much, but she held the photograph of her mother in her lap the entire time, her fingers occasionally tracing the edges as if trying to connect with a memory she could barely grasp. Once or twice, she asked questions about Robert's health, what he looked like now, whether he ever mentioned her birthday. Maya answered what she could. The rest, she said gently, you should ask him yourself. When they arrived at Riverside Care Center, it was almost evening. Maya wore her scarf low over her face, trying to avoid attention. Sarah wore a dark hoodie pulled up. They walked past the front desk, past nurses who now gave Maya long, suspicious looks, past the director who raised her eyebrows but said nothing. When they reached the intensive care wing, 2 security guards stood at the entrance, arms crossed. We're here to see Robert Wilson, Maya said, showing her staff badge. The guards shook their heads. No one's allowed in. Family orders. I'm his caregiver, Maya insisted. One of the guards made a call, listened, then nodded. Only you. Not her. If she doesn't go in, I don't go in, Maya said firmly. Orders are orders, lady. Just then, a loud voice echoed behind them. What is this? It was Marcus, his tie loose, his face sharp with anger and exhaustion. What are you doing here? He snapped at Maya. Didn't I make it clear you needed to stay away? You don't give orders here, Maya said calmly. I'm his caregiver. I'm his son. And I'm his nurse. He asked for me. Marcus stepped forward aggressively. Who's this? He pointed at Sarah. Another one of your schemes? She's not a stranger, Maya said. Are you bringing random people to my father's deathbed? Marcus demanded. Sarah slowly pulled back her hood, revealing her face. She looked Marcus directly in the eyes. I'm not random, she said quietly but firmly. I'm Sarah Parker Wilson. Silence. The guards looked confused. Marcus stepped back, his face going pale. What kind of game is this? He hissed. No game, Sarah said. I'm his daughter. His first child. Marcus's mouth opened and closed. He stared at her face, perhaps seeing the resemblance, perhaps recognizing something in her eyes that he couldn't deny. This is insane, he muttered. Move aside, Maya said, stepping forward. Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Sarah's steady gaze made him hesitate. He stepped aside slowly, still staring. They walked past him into the room. Robert lay on the bed, pale and still, an oxygen mask covering half his face. Machines beeped softly around him. His breathing was shallow. Maya walked to his side. Robert, she said gently, touching his hand. I brought her. His eyes opened slowly, moving from Maya to Sarah. They stopped there and widened. Tears filled his eyes instantly. His hand lifted shakily, reaching toward her. Elizabeth, he whispered, his voice muffled by the mask. Sarah didn't move. I'm not Elizabeth. I know, he said, his voice breaking. But your eyes. They're hers. She took a hesitant step forward. He reached again, his hand trembling in the air. This time, Sarah moved closer and gently held his hand. I'm sorry, he whispered, tears streaming down his weathered cheeks. I was afraid. I was a coward. Sarah didn't cry. She looked him straight in the eye and said, I wanted you to come my whole life. I should have, he said, his body shaking with emotion. I should have. He coughed violently, his whole body convulsing. Maya quickly checked his pulse. It was weak and irregular. I'm here now, Sarah said softly, squeezing his hand. You can see me now. He touched her face with trembling fingers. You look just like her. Just like your mother. Maya stepped back quietly, giving them space. Outside the room, she could hear voices rising. Marcus arguing with someone, a nurse trying to calm the situation. But inside this room, time had stopped. A father and daughter, separated by decades of pain and silence, were finally meeting. I can rest now, Robert whispered, his eyes locked on Sarah's face. Sarah held his hand tighter. Then rest, Dad. The word hung in the air, Dad, perhaps the first time she'd ever said it. His eyes closed slowly, a peaceful expression crossing his face. But just as that moment of peace settled, the door burst open violently. A reporter rushed in with a phone camera raised high, flash already going off. "Is it true?" the reporter shouted. "Is this the secret daughter of Robert Wilson?" Sarah jumped back. Maya immediately blocked the camera with her body. "Get out. Now." More voices erupted outside. More flashing lights. Security guards rushed in, grabbing the reporter and dragging him out. But it was too late. The secret was out. The news had leaked. Someone had tipped off the media. Maybe Marcus in a moment of anger, maybe someone else looking for a story. But the truth was no longer contained. The hallway outside filled with more reporters. Camera crews. Shouting. Questions flying. "Sarah Wilson, is that your real name? How long have you known about your father? Are you contesting the will? Was there a secret family all along?" Maya quickly pulled the curtain shut and locked the door from inside. Robert was struggling to breathe again, his eyes rolling, his chest rising and falling in shallow, desperate bursts. "Robert," Maya called, rushing to his side. "Can you hear me?" He nodded faintly, his lips dry and cracked. "Don't talk," she urged. "Save your strength." But he was already whispering something. She leaned in close. "I wrote it," he managed to say. "In the red folder. In the drawer." "What folder?" Maya asked urgently. He pointed weakly toward the bedside cabinet. Sarah opened it quickly. Inside was a red folder sealed with a rubber band. Sarah handed it to Maya. She opened it immediately. Inside were handwritten pages, each one labeled, "Will, Final Draft," in shaky letters. A sticky note on top read, "To my lawyer, only after she comes." Maya looked up at Sarah. "He meant you. He changed his will. He was waiting for you." Sarah stared at the papers, her hands shaking. Robert tried to smile, but his face twisted in pain instead. His chest began to convulse. The heart monitors beeping grew faster, more erratic. "No, no, no," Maya said, panic rising. "Stay with us, Robert." Sarah grabbed his hand again. "I'm here," she whispered urgently. "I forgive you. Do you hear me? I forgive you." His breathing slowed. One more deep, rattling breath. Then stillness. Maya placed 2 fingers on his neck. No pulse. She looked up at Sarah, her own eyes wet. "He's gone." Sarah closed her eyes slowly, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. Outside, someone banged on the door. "Open up." It was Marcus. Maya tucked the red folder under her arm and opened the door slightly. Marcus pushed past her roughly. He looked at the body on the bed, then at Sarah, his face twisted with anger and disbelief. "So this is what it was all about," he said bitterly. "You brought her here to destroy everything we built." "She's his daughter," Maya said firmly. "You can't erase that truth." Marcus laughed coldly. "We'll see about that. My lawyers will deal with this mess." He turned to leave, but paused at the door. "And don't think this is over. You're just a caregiver. You don't know the world you're playing in." He slammed the door behind him. Maya exhaled slowly. "He's going to fight this." Sarah sat on the edge of the bed, her hand still resting on her father's arm. "Let him fight. I know who I am now." The funeral happened quickly. It had to. The news had spread like wildfire. Every blog, newspaper, and TV station ran the story. Billionaire Robert Wilson dies peacefully after last-minute family reunion. Shocking revelation. Secret daughter arrives hours before death. Wilson estate faces new legal challenge. Marcus hired his own public relations team. He released a statement claiming the woman who visited was an imposter, that she'd been planted by opportunists, that she had no legal right to anything. But photos from the hospital had already leaked. Sarah's face was everywhere online. Some said she was after money. Others called her the rightful heir. Social media debated endlessly. But Sarah herself said nothing. Not one interview. Not one statement to the press. She stayed quietly with Maya in her small apartment near the care center. "I don't want fame or fortune," she told Maya one evening. "I just wanted to see his face once. I wanted to know where I came from." "And now that you have?" Maya asked gently. "I feel lighter," Sarah said. "Like I've been carrying a weight my whole life, and someone finally helped me set it down." 2 weeks passed. The lawyers moved quickly. The red folder was validated by handwriting experts. The signature was confirmed as authentic. The final draft of the will listed Sarah as his biological daughter and first child. She was entitled to 45% of the estate. Marcus and the other children would share the remainder. Chaos erupted. Court filings. Accusations. Protests from the Wilson family. Marcus demanded a DNA test. It matched perfectly. He called for a second test from a different lab. Same result. Then, silence. He vanished from public view for several days. Until one morning, there was a knock on Maya's apartment door. It was Marcus. No cameras this time, no lawyers. Just him in jeans and a worn jacket, his eyes tired, his face rough with days of stubble. "I came to talk," he said quietly. Sarah stepped outside to the hallway. "Why now?" "I was angry," he admitted. "You still are," she observed. "Yes," he said honestly. "But I'm not stupid anymore." She waited, arms crossed. He looked at her carefully. "You look like her. The woman in the old photographs we found in Dad's storage. That was your mother, wasn't it?" "Yes. Elizabeth Parker." Marcus nodded slowly. "My mother hated her. Used to say Dad had a moment of weakness with a poor woman. That's all she ever called it." Sarah didn't reply. "I didn't believe there was a child," he continued. "But I was young. I didn't know I had a sister." Sarah's expression softened slightly. "And now? Now I still don't know what to do with this situation," he said honestly. "But you were there at the end. You gave him peace. I wasn't. I was too busy being angry to see he was dying." Silence stretched between them. Then he stepped back. "The lawyers say we need to meet. Go over the estate details. I'm not fighting anymore." He paused. "Just don't sell the lake house property. It was his favorite place." Sarah gave a small nod. "Okay." He walked away slowly, hands in his pockets, shoulders slumped. 1 month later, the will was settled. The media lost interest and moved on to other stories. The cameras stopped coming. Sarah used part of her inheritance to expand her clinic in Millbrook. She built a new pediatric wing, bought modern equipment, hired additional staff. She put up a small framed photograph of Elizabeth and Robert in the reception area. Young, smiling, hopeful. She didn't change her name legally. Didn't buy a mansion. She stayed in her same modest apartment, but there was something different about her now. She smiled more easily. Laughed sometimes. She'd finally discovered where she came from, and she'd forgiven the man who left. One evening, Maya sat on her apartment balcony holding a cup of tea. Sarah came out and sat beside her, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders against the cool evening air. "You never told me why you helped him," Sarah said thoughtfully. "Why you went through all of this." Maya sipped her tea slowly. "Because I saw something in his eyes. Regret, yes. Fear, definitely. But also hope. Hope that he could fix one thing before he died. I've seen many people die, Sarah. But not many try to heal their soul before going." Sarah nodded. "You're a genuinely good person, Maya." "So are you. I couldn't have done this without you." "Yes, you could have," Maya said. "You're stronger than you know." They smiled at each other in comfortable silence. Sarah stood up. I'm heading to bed. Early clinic hours tomorrow. Good night, Maya said. Good night. Sarah paused at the door. And Maya, thank you for everything. After she went inside, Maya sat alone for a while longer, watching the city lights below. The next morning, a package arrived at her door. No return address. Just a black envelope and a sealed letter inside. Maya opened it carefully. The handwriting was shaky but unmistakable. Roberts. She sat down and began to read. Maya, if you're reading this, it means you kept your promise. You brought her home. You did what no lawyer, no family member, no amount of money could accomplish. You saw me not as a name or a bank account, but as a man who needed help. And you stayed. This world needs more hearts like yours, hearts that choose compassion over convenience, truth over comfort. I didn't have much left to give, but I've left something for you. Not money or property, but a small piece of land near Harper's Creek. It's quiet, by the water. You'll find peace there, just like I found peace with you. Thank you, Maya. Because of you, I can finally rest. Robert. Tears rolled down her face. She didn't wipe them away. She just folded the letter gently and held it close to her heart. 3 months later, Maya stood at the edge of a river in Harper's Creek, looking at the piece of land Robert had left her. It wasn't large, just a flat clearing with grass, a few trees, and a view of calm water stretching toward the horizon. She took off her shoes and stepped barefoot onto the soil. It was quiet here. Peaceful. A place where silence didn't feel empty, but full of possibility. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The wind carried the scent of fresh earth and wildflowers. She imagined a small house here someday. A wooden porch. A rocking chair. A place where tired souls could rest and heal. When she opened her eyes, Sarah was standing beside her, holding 2 bags of takeout food. You came, Maya said, surprised. Of course I came, Sarah smiled. You think I'd miss seeing your new kingdom? Maya laughed. It's just dirt and wind right now. But it's yours, Sarah said warmly. You earned it. They sat under the biggest tree and opened the bags, eating quietly while watching the river flow. Do you miss him? Maya asked after a while. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Sometimes I forget he's really gone. I still half expect him to call or knock on my door. But when I remember that last moment, when I held his hand and said, Dad, for the first time. She paused. I'm grateful. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Maya nodded slowly. That's all any of us can hope for. Real connection, even if it's brief. They finished eating and sat back against the tree, heads resting on the rough bark. I'm leaving the care center soon, Maya said softly. Sarah turned to her. Really? Why? I want to build something here. A small healing retreat. Somewhere people can come to rest and recover, not just their bodies, but their hearts and spirits too. Sarah's eyes lit up. Like a wellness center? Maya nodded. Simple. Quiet. Honest. A place where people can find peace. I'll help you, Sarah said immediately. You don't have to. I want to. We'll build it together. They looked at each other and smiled. 2 women with different stories but the same purpose, the same understanding of what it meant to truly care for others. Back in Portland, Marcus Wilson sat alone in his father's old study. The room was exactly as Robert had left it. Books on the shelves, pens in the drawer, reading glasses on the desk. He opened a drawer and found a dusty old cassette player. Curious, he turned it on. His father's voice filled the room, recording from years ago. Marcus, if you ever find this, I hope you'll understand. I made choices that built towers but left cracks in the foundation. I hope you build differently. Not higher, but better. Not for show, but for meaning. Success without love is just an expensive loneliness. Learn from my mistakes, son. Choose people over profit. Choose truth over appearance. It's not too late for you. Marcus paused the tape. He looked around the empty room, and for the first time in years, he felt something shift inside him. Not anger, not shame, but understanding. 3 months later, Maya stood in front of a newly painted sign. Robert's Peace Haven, Healing and Rest Center. Sarah stood beside her, holding a bottle of sparkling cider for their small private celebration. They had painted the center themselves, built it with help from local workers, made it warm and welcoming. Inside were clean beds, comfortable chairs, quiet reading corners, simple healthy food, books, soft music. No judgment. No pressure. Just peace. People came from near and far, burned-out professionals, grieving widows, struggling young people, lost souls searching for direction. And they found something there that money couldn't buy: genuine care, rest, and hope. One day, a young boy arrived. He was no older than 8, skinny and quiet, with sad eyes. Maya took his hand gently. "What's your name, sweetheart?" He held out a crumpled piece of paper. It read, "I heard this is where broken hearts get fixed." She smiled warmly. "You heard right. Come on in." She led him inside, and as the door closed behind them, the breeze carried the sound of laughter into the trees. Because Robert's last wish had been fulfilled. A broken relationship had been healed. A secret daughter had found her truth. And 2 caregivers, Maya and Sarah, had created something beautiful from pain. A new story had begun. The end. Thank you so much for joining us on this emotional journey. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring true stories. Share this video with someone who needs to hear a story about redemption, forgiveness, and second chances. Drop a comment below telling us what lesson you're taking away from Maya and Sarah's story. What would you do in their situation? We love hearing from you. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next powerful story. Until next time, remember, it's never too late to make things right, and one act of genuine kindness can change everything. God bless you all.